Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to play short bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and this is BP Live. Joining me, my good friend Matt Perrault, and all of you hanging out here on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Ring the bell till it goes ding for notifications. And Matt Perrault, before we start to look ahead to the divisional rounds, because now we are set. The matchups are ready, and we are going to go this weekend into what should be a really fun weekend of games. We've got some powerhouse teams, and of course, that Sunday night matchup staring us in the face, man. I think the world of sports might stop for that one. That should be a very fun contest. But before we go forward, I just want to get some takeaways from you for last night. We were riding very close to the sun with Sam Darnold for many, many weeks, a 14-win season, a rebirth of a career, and the last 2 weeks really have left a sour taste, I think, in the mouths of Vikings fans, but also people who were looking at Sam Darnold as maybe being the guy who would be the quarterback next year. What was your take from the performance? I know he hit his hand on the helmet, and I think that affected him a little bit, but certainly the turnovers, the sacks, it was not a good performance 2 weeks in a row now from Sam Darnold. What are your takeaways?
First and foremost, good to see you again. Second,
good to see you.
So this is called BP Live. I love this. So we've changed the name of this show like 3 times. This is awesome.
Yeah, I make it up as I go along.
So now we have a new show. It's great. And now I know how to promote it.
We're live. It's Betting Pros. We're here.
I love it. It's great. I think it's just like we've called this. I think it was even money, and then we called it against the spread. I don't know. It's awesome.
Well, once we went over to YouTube, I think like BP Live is what we do on the live stream version. But I hope. And, it's my New Year's resolution that there's more Joey P and Matt Perrault in 2024.
Oh, good.
I can't speak for you.
I'll just it's going to be. Yeah. And we're going to have to do it in person. You guys are all coming to Vegas soon. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, let's go.
Hang out and have a little cocktail or two here in Vegas. It should be fun.
Or 3.
All right. So last night, I took the Rams in a teaser. I teased the Rams up. I didn't trust the Vikings. I also didn't love the number. I thought it was a little bit on the soft side. Another under comes in. I mean, again, I don't know what the book set a number, the public bets and the pros bets. So it's not the book setting a number that's wrong. I can't figure out. We're now 4-2 to the under here in the playoffs. And I can't figure out why people think that numbers of 50 or higher from a total perspective is going to hit in the postseason. It's just not. Maybe Bills, Ravens, maybe is the crazy high scoring 34-30 type of football game that the books have been projecting and predicting with these high totals. So the number coming woefully under wasn't that big of a shock of 48 to me, but it was a surprise to see Sam Darnold run for his life and the fact that the Vikings could not protect against the Rams defense. Look, there's not a better story in sports right now than the Rams. Given what this franchise has gone through, the fact that they had to go to Arizona, they took over, and credit to the Cardinals. The Cardinals changed over their actual team store into Rams gear. Like, that must have hurt. Like, as a Patriot fan, you know this. Like, if the Jets were coming in and taking over the Patriot team store, making it a Jet team store, like, that wouldn't sit right. That would just feel ick. And, like, you're like, oh, God. But because of what has happened and everyone's rallying and the NFL family coming together. So that was really nice to see.
It was very cool.
And then Matthew Stafford, his 4 daughters were in the hospital with an illness last week. He rallies and plays incredibly well. Sean McVay is still a really good head coach. And I thought Kevin O'Connell looked dumbfounded as to what his quarterback was doing. And they made 0 adjustments for what the Rams were doing defensively. And I think that was probably the 9 sacks was probably the bigger surprise than Sam Darnold throwing picks. I think everybody was betting Sam Darnold to throw picks. Him turning back into a pumpkin wasn't that surprising. But how many millions of dollars did he blow last night? I mean, my gosh, he was poised.
I mean, look, he's going from a $50 million quarterback to probably 25 or 30 at the most, maybe, right? I mean, it's a lot of money he blew in the last 2 games, and you absolutely nailed it too. Great job by the whole Arizona area there, just kind of rallying around, and that's nice to see. It's like, can we have more of that? That would be very nice. I'd like to see a little bit more of that, but a very disappointing end too. You could see the disappointment on Kevin O'Connell's face too, because they had really exceeded so many expectations, and at a certain point you really start to believe, and then you go in there, you have a bad game against Detroit, and I really thought, okay, you shake that off, you had that moment, but man, LA and Jared Verse too. I mean, what a great job there drafting that kid who's really just been spectacular on the defense.
I love the story that he thought when McVay called him to tell him he had made the Pro Bowl that he thought he was getting cut. Like that's crazy. Like your phone rings. He's like, oh my gosh, what does the coach want? It's midweek. And the coach is like, hey man, you had a great year. And he thought he was getting released by the Rams. And he was like, oh, this is a good phone call, not a bad phone call. So
released kid. You're like one of the rookie of the year finalists or defensive rookie.
Scores a touchdown last night and just
the Rams are dangerous because they have quarterback, because they have coach and the record of Matt Stafford as a Ram. I don't know if you saw this number in December and January since he's been a Ram is stunningly good. So when the chips are down, this guy has, for the Rams been outstanding. I know they had the run a couple years ago for the Super Bowl, but he has been just Iceman for this team.
Oh yeah.
Every time we get past Thanksgiving.
He's 4-0 in the playoffs on a neutral or at home for the Rams. He hasn't lost yet. Now that's a neutral last night, quote unquote. Right. Now they're on the road. He's 1-2 on the road. Hard to win on the road, much more difficult to go to Philadelphia, to go across the country and they don't even know if they can practice. Where they may need to go to the East Coast really early to go and use somebody else's facility.
I think that's probably what's going to happen, to tell you the truth. That would, if I was the leading organization, I would say that's probably the best thing to do. It's also remove yourself from all the distractions too. Because,
right. Yeah. Get the families. Yeah. Take your family.
Get the families there. Get everybody safe. Everybody in a good headspace. Focus on what you got to do here. We're going to focus on the games ahead too, but I wanted to get Matt's take on last night too and going forward because it's going to have a big impact. Is it McCarthy? Is Darnold?
Oh, it's JJ McCarthy. There's no debating it. I mean, you could see it. You could see it on O'Connell's face. It was kind of like the similar thing when you're looking at the Falcons with Kirk Cousins, and you're just seeing the whole organization's like play Michael Penix. The entire thing is like, oh gosh, thank God we have JJ McCarthy. Like, thank God we got somebody else next year.
It was savvy to pick up Daniel Jones there and just stash him in the back end there and say, okay, this is our backup plan if things don't go well health-wise for McCarthy. Before we get ahead of ourselves to the Saturday games and Sunday games, just a quick reminder, back by popular demand, Scott Bogman, Joe Pisapia, live right here on the BP channel. Again, we only do Texans games, apparently. That's right, Chiefs-Texans. So we're going to be back 4:15 Eastern time for the first of the division round games. So join us here, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell till it goes ding so you don't forget, so you don't miss a minute. We had a great time talking betting, talking football, going through our favorite bets of the game, and then, of course, all the in-game live betting. And man, that second half of that Texas game really took off. Why couldn't we get that in the first half? It would have been a lot more fun to be on air for, but we're going to be your two best friends that anybody could have doing this game here again. So join us 4:15 Eastern right here on the channel for Texans Chiefs betting live in game. All right, let's kick things off here with that game here and get your take on this one, because obviously we are now in the round 2 of the NFL playoffs. Kansas City Chiefs, heavy favorites, as one would assume. They've had time to rest, time to game plan. The Houston Texans, a lot of emotion. And Matt, to me, when you have a team that has a big emotional victory like that at home, underdogs, nobody was picking them. People were making fun of them, calling them they're the bye week team. Well, they heard all that noise. They are 8-point underdogs at home. That's the consensus line on BettingPros. 41.5 in the number in the team totals there, in the game total, and then plus 350 on the money line for the Houston Texans as an upset. Is 8 too much for what you've seen out of the Chiefs all year, or are you influenced by the last 2 games where Mahomes and the offense start to pick things up a little bit?
No, this is the game that I think our pregame show probably will be 3 or 4 hours before this game kicks off. It would probably be the similar time, which is 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, for the pregame with myself and Andrew Erickson. I want to see where this number goes, but this is a teaser. Like, you just take the Chiefs down at 8, 6-point teaser. You're going to cross 7. You're going to cross 3. Chiefs win this game, but they win the game by 3 or 4 points. I don't think that they cover, but they could kill the Texans if CJ Stroud turns back into the quarterback he was for most of the year and throws interceptions. If their offensive line can't block, which they haven't been able to block anybody, all of a sudden last week they figured it out for 1 week. But this is Arrowhead. This is outdoors. This is on the road. This has the potential to get away from them if they can't move the football and they can't protect CJ Stroud. So I feel more comfortable pulling it down. I think everybody will pull this thing down. I would love it if the Texans win this game. I will be this would be the biggest upset of the year by far if the Texans would beat the Chiefs.
It's a heck of a number, plus 350 too. So it's not impossible to indulge that notion. I'm kind of where you are, though. I feel like I want to take the 8 with the Houston Texans here, just because the Chiefs have not been a team that been putting people away. My
Nope.
fear is the same as yours, which is when you give Andy Reid more time, Andy Reid is going to have the game plan in place. And I think it was very important for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs those last 2 games to start to get healthy, get Hollywood Brown back, start to expand the offense. Mahomes throwing for 300 yards for the first time in a very long time. Like that, all those things, I think you put them together, that makes the Chiefs dangerous. So this could be a bit of a sweat with that 8, at certain points. Or they could come out flat too, because they have some time off. You never know.
It's so interesting with the Chiefs because they don't have explosive players. Like they don't have the thing in the playoffs you need is defense. Right. They've got that. Can they run the ball consistently? Maybe. They don't have anybody. And I know you can say, well, Matt, Hollywood Brown's back and they've got a rookie that Worthy can go, but they don't do it consistently. They don't have anybody. I was looking at someone talking about trends about like where
neither does Buffalo, Matt, to be honest, besides Josh Allen. Like that's the thing. I mean, that's why I have a hard time with
the Ravens are the best team in football right now.
I don't disagree with you.
But the Ravens have the explosive players wear purple.
Can I caveat that? The Ravens are playing the best football right now. I don't know if they're the best team, but they're playing the best football right now. And I know that sounds like, what the hell is he talking about?
I know, but their offense is so heads and tails above what anybody else is going to run out there. And Andy Reid can scheme up everything, and I'll give you that. But Travis Kelce is getting very old. We were watching it in front of our face. He's regressing quickly. Yeah. You're asking a guy in Hollywood Brown to come back who missed dramatically amounts of time this year to be a major factor in the biggest game of the year. And look, I don't think the Texans are going to be that big of a factor, but the following week, I think the Ravens are beating the Bills. We'll get to that game in a second. And the Ravens are beating the Bills. And then I think you're going to have a really dangerous team walking into Arrowhead where they should have won in the beginning part of the year in week 1. The toe of Isaiah Likely, if it's a half an inch shorter.
Full circle.
Okay, they beat them. So they're pissed off. They're mad as hell that they're going in there. And the explosive plays, I think, will show up in 2 weeks in the AFC Championship game with Baltimore. And granted, I've been on the Ravens all year. I have a 12-1 ticket on the Ravens to win it all. So I'm biased on this, and I've been harping this since August with this Henry and Lamar Jackson combination. But I think the Chiefs are like, we got to figure things out quickly against the Texans. That's my worry. That they know they got to have some I don't want to totally disrespect the Houston Texans, but it feels like this is almost like a tune-up game for the Chiefs. It's a get-right game for the Chiefs.
But you don't want to look ahead, too, because then you get caught. And
right. But they might blow them out, catch you. They might kill them for that reason.
They might, and that is, again, this is like a range of outcomes in this particular game. It's starting to feel, though, like a little bit of Lamar Jackson exercising demons, finally beating the Pittsburgh Steelers more than once, too, in the last couple of weeks.
Killing them,
right? Embarrassing them. The difference is, can you run the football? Can you play defense? Obviously, they can run the football 15 times in a row against Pittsburgh in one clip, which was stunning. I mean, the announcer sitting back and talking about it, even I was kind of going, man, this seems like a lot of run plays in a row. I kind of lost track of it myself, but it was 15 at one point. And then on top of that, the only concern I have is I know the defense has played better, but are they a little bit of a product of who they've been playing and their opponents and those offenses like the Giants and the Steelers just not being very good? And that is a question I think that I don't know the answer to yet, and we're going to find out against Buffalo. We'll get to that game in a second. Let's go Washington, Detroit. Washington, Jaden Daniels, baby. I mean, this guy, what a fun season it has been for Jaden Daniels here in this rookie campaign, going in there on the road, beating Tampa, and congratulations. Now you get the Detroit Lions in Detroit, 9.5-point favorites. The Lions are 55.5 is the total, a very big number, plus 400. You mentioned that maybe Baltimore, Buffalo would be the one that you could understand going over 50. Detroit has always given up a ton of points, man. That's yielded a ton of high totals the last couple of years. Do you think this one goes under that number?
I mean, if I'm betting it, I would say under. I mean, the first move was under 56. It's now 55.5. So the first move from the professionals was to bet the under. Now, is that to drive it down to turn around and bet it over? Potentially. This has been a building in which, as you said, the Lions score and the Lions give up scores. So this has the potential to go over. But I think it also has the potential for the Lions to just completely suffocate this offense for Washington and have them not be able to do much. I mean, going on the road to Tampa and winning was very impressive. And I give Jaden Daniels and I give the Sorry, that just fell off and almost knocked me off the internet. Sorry. Something just fell off my desk and almost knocked my
This is why
down.
you watch us live.
Yeah.
So I was never
like,
know. Maybe the internet works. Maybe it doesn't.
That
maybe
was
Matt's
crazy.
wearing a hat today.
I almost got knocked off there. So I think it's a game where I can see disaster for the Texans. So sorry for Washington. It's one thing to go on the road to take on Baker Mayfield, who stinks as a favorite, who fumbled the football in the most important moment of the season, who threw interceptions when he can't throw interceptions this season, against a Lions team that just is right now feeling right after what they did to the Vikings. You saw that locker room. You saw, I love the line, and I won't say the word, but like Campbell walked in and said, "You guys remembered who the F you are." Mm-hmm. And like that to me was a get right spot where I'm like, oh, they're going to kill Washington. And so how many points?
Well, between him and Dan Quinn, I mean, just every fourth down, folks, just get ready for it.
And that's going to be really problematic, I think, for Washington, because if they do what they did, they did come out on the plus side of it against Tampa. This is a different team. This is a different offense. This is a different environment in my mind when you're taking on a rested Lions team. The Tampa Bay defense was the problem. That's why I liked Washington to win the game outright. It's why I teased them the way I did, because I was like, I don't like that Tampa defense. I would love to see a healthy Lions defense. And if Hutch comes back in the Super Bowl, like, oh my gosh, but they're still really a difficult defense to face. This was a great story. This was a great win. I don't give Washington much of a shot here.
I don't either. I think they're definitely outclassed here, just as a total package. But a great season for Dan Quinn, great season for Jane Daniels, and I've been saying it. I love when head coaches who I think have talent and a good defensive coordinator get a second chance as a head coach. They typically get it right the second time, and I love the Dan Quinn hire last year. I was very, very pro Dan Quinn. I talked about, I was like, hey, look. He's been around the league a long time. He's had success in the league as a coordinator. It reminded me a little Belichick to a certain degree, right? Where it's like, hey, this guy's a really successful coordinator. Took his lumps a little bit as the first time head coach, but you give him that second chance, and you see it a lot. Those guys with that second chance. And the
Patriot fans are hoping that Mike Vrabel's that too. So
let me tell you, that's a whole other live stream between us. I'm super excited about that.
I mean, look, he was at Cleveland last year. Patriots get a Cleveland coach. I mean, all the synergies are right there for Belichick, but you're absolutely right. I mean, that's a lot of these guys learn on the job for the first time, make a lot of mistakes, and the second time around,
his head coach and coordinator is just different.
They know what they're doing now.
Head coach is about building the culture. Coordinator is about, calling the plays. Let's look ahead to Sunday. Before we get to Sunday's games, we're giving away free stuff. A Dak Prescott autographed helmet, thanks to our good friends at pristineauction.com. So if you want to win this bad boy, all you have to do is go to bettingpros.com/contest, complete the form, and either download the Betting Pros app, leave a review of the Betting Pros podcast, or subscribe to our social media channels at Betting Pros on X, on TikTok, and at Betting Pros NFL on the IG. The more actions you complete, the more entries you receive, and we'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel. So make sure you turn those notifications on so you can be alerted when new episodes are up, and you can claim your prize with the Dak Prescott autographed helmet. I wonder, are we trading Dak Prescott? Are we trying to move up in the draft with the Cowboys? So much intrigue, Matt Perrault. All right, let's move on. Well, I mean,
Dak Prescott?
I don't know if you're Cleveland, you want Shador Sanders or you want Dak Prescott.
That contract, if you're Cleveland, you can't take that contract. You already have a contract that's taking you to the doldrums.
Stay tuned. You want Deshaun Watson contract's going to get real disputed real fast, I think. Hang in there. It's going to be a fun offseason, boys and girls. Next game on the list, the aforementioned Rams going to Philadelphia against the Eagles. Now, look, that Eagles defense, I've been talking about them for weeks, and they are for real. I was disappointed. There was never a point where I thought the Eagles were not in control of that game and weren't going to win that game.
Fair.
I thought they would pile on more. They did not. The Packers were just completely depleted, disintegrated, and it got worse as the game went on, unfortunately for them. The number here is 6. Philadelphia Eagles at home, 6-point favorites, 43.5 plus 225. I would venture to say Matt Perrault is on the Ram side of this 6. Would I be correct?
I don't know yet. I'm on the fan side of it. Like, I'm 100% cheering for the Rams. Am I betting the Rams? So the Rams were 6-3 ATS on the road this year. They've gone to places and won outright. I thought they were going to stub their toe back in November against the Patriots. They were laying 4 and they covered. I was like, okay, that's a West Coast team going east. It's the Patriots. I get it. But Foxborough at that time, things were kind of teetering a little bit as to what direction the Patriots were going to wind up going. They went to New Orleans. They laid 3. They won by 7. Like, they've been good. They won. They were 3-point dogs at San Francisco. They won the game by 6. They were 2.5-point favorites against the Jets. They won by 10. I mean, they've played well on the East Coast. So I can talk myself into taking the 6 points, but I also am very concerned about Saquon Barkley and this running attack for the Eagles because, as you mentioned, they were up 10-0 at the half. It felt like it was 100. Like, it did. It didn't
the
feel
points
close.
weren't there. And then, you got AJ Brown reading books on the sideline. Like, it just feels like the dysfunction. And I've also made this reference more than once. It feels like the 70s Yankees, right? Where nobody liked each other. It was all fighting, but it just worked for them.
Right.
They dominated and they worked. And I don't think it's quite that bad, but it does feel like there's just still a bit of that going on. I don't know. The Eagles to me were, I think, by far the most dangerous team in the NFC. This is a game, though, I think they got to be real careful because Sean McVay is a great coach. Matthew Stafford is a veteran quarterback. Probably, a Hall of Famer probably at this point, right? I mean, it's kind of hard to argue that, I would imagine.
No, he's in.
When a coach and quarterback of that magnitude come into your building and are playing with house money already, I think you got to be really on guard because that's the kind of team that can take you down. So I'm a little worried here for the Eagles on this one.
Revenge games are really interesting to me. And we just saw it with the same situation for the Vikings. The Vikings had played at or against the Lions, lost. They played the Rams the following week. They lost it. Both losses. This was a 17-point win for the Philadelphia Eagles, the first time these two teams faced off against each other. And so how much does Sean McVay take away from that and say, all right, they came into our building. They pushed us around. We were 3-point home dogs. We lost by 17. Now we're turning around, going to Philadelphia in January. We're playing outside, not inside. We're playing in one of the most hostile environments. Historically speaking, this has been a fade, right? You fade the West Coast team, going east, outdoors, dome team, like all the things and the narratives are going to fly around. So you tell me, why is the number coming down? Numbers from 6 to 5.5. Pros like the Rams. Can't say I argue with. It's hard to argue with the way the Rams are running the football.
That's why I was
right
guessing
now.
you like the Rams because I know you're
I'm
a pro.
Talk myself into it. I'm going to talk myself into it. I'm just not there yet. I mean,
but you might want to get it now because, like, the longer we talk, it might not. It might get to a point where if it gets to 4.5, that might be untenable. Like,
no, but the road struggles for Stafford in the playoffs at 1-3 straight up is definitely crazy. But Stafford as an underdog, this is wild. He's won 5 games this year. After last night, 5 games outright as a dog. Like, when you think this team, a road dog, this team's not going to be able to go out there and win. They've won 5 times this year by doing that, neutral or on the road. So they're tested. Like, they believe that they can beat anybody in the NFL. They have a championship caliber coach. They have a championship caliber quarterback. Does their defense hold up against Saquon Barkley and company? And does AJ Brown finally get the rock? Because if he does, I'm not sure they have an answer for AJ Brown
for that. But again, got to get him the football, and that has been a struggle bus for them. The other thing too is it's funny to think about where the Rams were going into the season, where it felt like a team like maybe if things don't go well, we're going to blow this thing up. Maybe McVay starts to look at the booth or other things, or maybe it's all just going away, and here we are with the Rams in the playoffs now in the second round. It's pretty wild to think about. One more game, the big marquee matchup, the one we all want to see. Bills, Ravens. Don't forget, make sure you download the BettingPros app and use all the tools as you're betting for all these things, especially the betting systems as well. Betting systems tools designed to help you find winning strategies and make smarter bets. You can customize your bets by sport, bet type, time frame to find the best opportunities using real-time data and expert analysis, track the performance of different betting systems over time, and optimize your bets to increase your chances of success. Download the BP app today and elevate your betting strategy to start making smarter bets. Okay, here we go. Buckle in, everybody. Buffalo Bills at home, +1. That's the consensus number right now. It's a little different in some other spots. 51.5 is the number. You get -105 on the Bills money line. You get -115 on the Baltimore money line. I'm just going to come out and say it with you because you were alluding to it, and I am holding hands with you. I think Baltimore is going to win this game, and I don't think it's going to be a tight fourth quarter, oh my God, kind of situation. I just don't. I don't. And I think that it's been a great story for Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills. I'm concerned with that defense. I told you there were some spots against those better offenses. When you looked at what they did against the Rams and the Bills, right? 90 points almost combined in those two games. That worries me. Their defense worries me. The Baltimore Ravens have enormous momentum. They are playing better defense. I don't know if anybody can stop the duo of Henry and Lamar Jackson right now. I just don't. I don't know what the health of Zay Flowers is going to be, but Mark Andrews has also played really well down the stretch. And I think after fantasy managers everywhere were cutting him from teams and losing their mind, he's really figured it out again, too. I love him to score a touchdown in this game, too. But I don't think this is going to be the, oh my gosh, let's hold our breath to the fourth quarter thing. I think Baltimore's going to be in control of this game in the fourth. Your thoughts?
I'm going to make the same bet that I made in the prop market with a parlay. FanDuel lets you do it. Anytime touchdown, Derrick Henry, over 100 yards rushing for Derrick Henry. It was plus 140 in the wild card weekend. I think it's going to be probably plus 120, 125. So, but you get plus money on it. Derrick Henry and the number one rush offense is going to Buffalo to face a defense that's outside the top 15 in rushing yards given up. They give up over 100 yards per game, 4.5 yards per rush. This is just old school football. I mean, I'm 47. I remember what used to be like. If you could run the football and play good enough defense, you went pretty far, and it's a recipe to win on the road. I just don't think the Bills are going to be able to stop the running attack. I think it simply comes down to the running game for the Ravens is going to win this game, and I'm not sure how many possessions Josh Allen's going to have. And that, I think, is going to be a huge key. Shrink the game, play an under game, run the football, and limit possessions for Buffalo and score touchdowns and just, 21-13 type football game for the Ravens. Old school throwback football. But I like the Ravens on the road to do that versus this Bills team that, as you mentioned, is lacking that explosive player that's going to take the top off the defense.
I'll say this too. If everybody believes Josh Allen's going to be the MVP, then the curse will continue also, because there's only one guy in the last 25 years who's won MVP and won the Super Bowl, and that was Patrick Mahomes. That's it. The guy before that was Kurt Warner in 99. It's a long time. And you know what? I think Lamar is kind of taking that personally. It's funny. This team went into the bye, and we're all kind of questions. Like, are the Ravens falling apart here? Are they going to be able to figure this out? Well, they came out of the bye and they reasserted themselves. And John Harbaugh, he just does not get enough credit sometimes. I think about that team has been so good for so long, and every year the Baltimore Ravens are right in the thick of the playoffs, right in the thick of things. This feels like a different version of Lamar. It feels like the best version of Lamar, and I think that they are the most dangerous they've been all season, and right now probably the most dangerous team. And I'll put this out there too: more dangerous than the Lions, I think, because
I agree.
Big spots. I trust Harbaugh more than I trust Dan Campbell to make good decisions. I don't trust Campbell.
Steve, thank you. It's plus 148 at FanDuel for that Henry over.
There you go.
Rushing anytime touchdown. I think it's. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that, because I got plus 140 on it last weekend. You get even better odds now at plus 148 with this. I mean, I guess they're thinking that there might be a defensive, focal point on Henry if you're the Bills, but I don't think it really matters. Your point after the bye. They've scored, the Ravens, 35-34, 31-35, 28 since the bye. Like, that offense. And you could say, wait, it's the opponent more than the offense. Maybe. I mean, maybe. It's not
insane. Find out.
Yeah, it's Giants, Pittsburgh twice, Houston, Cleveland. Okay, it's not like you're facing an unbelievable, but Cleveland's defense is really good. It has been good. Pittsburgh's defense, everyone talked about why they'd cover, because their defense was going to stop the run. Well, they gave up 10,000 yards rushing to the Ravens. And so I think the Bills are going to give up 10,000 yards rushing to the Ravens and really put themselves into a tough spot. This handle on this game, everything rolls to this game. So every parlay, every teaser, this is going to have a monster handle. It's in the perfect window, Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon, late. I mean, it's going to be just a huge football game. And I'm mad that these two teams are playing each other and the Chiefs get to play the Texans, because that's a frustration that I've got there. But that if the Bills win, can the Bills beat the Chiefs?
They can, but I don't think they will.
Right.
I don't. And maybe I'm being crazy because I'm the guy with all the Chiefs tickets from the beginning of the year, right? All my tickets are Chiefs Lions for the most part. There's a little hedge in there with some Baltimore Lions at the midway. But what I did was I was Chief Lions in the beginning of the year. And then what I typically do, my process is I wait and I reevaluate and I look around. And about halfway through the season, I either make some hedges or I double down. And I was just doubling down because I know everyone was talking crap about the Chiefs. and the Chiefs just keep winning games. And like, I know you hated everybody. And I think as a Patriot fan, maybe I have a different view of this, which is, hey, you might not like it. And yeah, everybody's talking all the noise about how they don't like Mahomes and they're not that good and all that stuff. Winning is winning, and finding that culture of winning. And when you know, every week they're going to find a way on special teams, on defense, on offense, whatever it is that week, a way to win. That's tough, man. They don't understand losing, that Chiefs team. They don't get it. And I wonder too, if it's the Ravens and the Chiefs, what that number would be next week.
In Arrowhead, I would say Chiefs -1.
That's what I was thinking too.
Can't make the Chiefs a dog. You can't make Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game. You can't make Patrick
not if you don't want the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
again.
you can't make Patrick Mahomes a dog. That would be insane.
But so this would be the exercising of all those demons. The Steelers demon for Lamar, the exercising the demon of the Josh Allen is the MVP and I'm not. Okay, let me show you. And then of course, always losing to Mahomes in these big spots. This would be the pathway. And for them to get in the Super Bowl would
it's
really
on both sides, though, right?
Moment.
I mean, the Bills have the same demons. I mean, the
Bills, but Josh Allen has beaten Mahomes in those spots.
Yeah, but they haven't played in a Super Bowl. They haven't won a Super Bowl. I mean, they've gotten past Mahomes. So they haven't gone to the big game. They haven't won the big game. And it's we talked about this a couple of days ago on BVB, and it's really interesting to look at in the Brady era. In the dominance of Tom Brady, you still saw Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning win Super Bowls. In the Mahomes era, and it's not because Mahomes is going to win, every championship for the next 10 years, but there's so many good teams in the NFC. The Lions are on the way up. The Packers are on the way up. You start seeing these teams. You got to go, if you're a Bills fan, you got to be thinking, we don't just have to worry about the Chiefs stopping us from winning a championship. The NFC is getting their act together, and this is not a one-sided domination. I don't know if, I think
the AFC is getting their act together too. I'm looking at that West. The Broncos getting competitive. The AFC, the Chargers got another Harbaugh now in the same conference. Like, you got two Harbaugh coaches in the same conference, man. It's gonna be rough.
Marino played his whole career and never won a championship. Okay, It's starting to feel like Josh Allen's going to be one of these all-time greats that never even plays in a Super Bowl. That the window just is changing, and he may need to go somewhere else to get there late in his career.
I thought this would be the rebuild, the retool year for the Bills, personally, without Diggs.
Oh.
I'm shocked that they've done as well as they have. And it's great. It's a credit to Allen, because Allen has played better when he didn't have to have that tunnel vision where he's only looking for that one guy and he's got to play. He's got to keep that guy happy. No, he has been a much more complete quarterback. The team has done better around him. But to your point, they don't have that guy. They don't have that elite level player. And nowadays, if you don't have that, it is tough. It is really tough, to.
And by the way, if you guys are wondering about weather being a factor in Buffalo, that's even worse for Josh Allen. The Bills don't want to see weather. No. Derrick Henry in the snow is a nightmare.
No, you do not want that.
You do not want it. You do not want.
Bro, a couple years ago in the snow, we had the Bengals go into that.
Yeah. JC from Casey says the Chargers and Broncos are zero threat. I totally disagree with you. I completely. I think that's a dismissive Chief fan of what's happening in your own division. Bo Nix is a rookie, okay, and he's got Sean Payton, which is an unbelievable head coach.
If Sean Payton gets a running back in this draft, and there's a lot of running backs in this draft.
Big problem there.
That defense has got some pieces. I'm just saying.
And on the other side, Harbaugh in year one in Michigan fell on his face, and in year two went right around and changed everything and changed the culture. The Chargers could very well be right back in the postseason next year and being a problem. Like, the division for Kansas City has gotten much better. The Raiders are a laughingstock, but the other two teams in the division are not going to be just complete patsies the way that they have been. And it's wild because the Patriots were able to just go on that crazy 20-year run, mostly because the Jets and the Dolphins and the Bills couldn't get out of their own way. Right. Well, it feels like the AFC West is going to start to put up some resistance.
And Casey's going to lose some guys. Hopkins is old. Kelsey's at the end. Big changes are coming. This
Travis
could be
Kelce's,
that window.
I'm going to say this on the record. I think Travis Kelce's retiring at the end of the year. Win or lose.
If they win, he definitely retires.
I think win or lose.
Well, we can go on forever. You got another show to do. We got to get you out of here.
I think Kelce's retiring. I think this is it for Travis Kelce, and I think you're going to see him. That's one thing that makes, I think, the Chiefs dangerous, because I think Kelce's going to play with reckless abandon because he knows this is it.
This is it. This is the
his
run,
brother
right?
walked. His girlfriend, soon to be, I think they'll be engaged. They're going to go do that whole thing. She's got more free
Dude,
time.
he's got a
more
great
money.
podcast. He can save his body. I mean, come on, man. He's got tons of money. I mean, look, that's why you and I chose podcasting. After we walked away from all of that,
He's
all
done.
that glory, all that fame. That's what happened to us. All right. I want to thank everybody for joining us today on the live stream. We'll be back tomorrow with another live stream too. Myself and Andrew Erickson get his takes on the game. And don't forget, we're also going to be live 4:15 Saturday, Texans, Chiefs. That's right. Me, Joey P, and Scott Bogman in-game live betting this bad boy. Again, this should be a fun time. So we want you to join us, make us your second screen experience. We watch the game, put us on the phone, or better yet, watch the game on your phone and put our handsome faces on the TV. That's what I recommend. But anyway, Matt Perrault, always great hanging out with you, my brother. Shout out to Sal too, running the stream. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Matt Perrault, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.